allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to call the roll. Alexandria. Bridgewater.
Yes.
Bristol. Danbury, yes. Breton.
I'm here.
Hebron. And New Hampshire. All right, is there a need to modify the agenda? Okay. And Ben LaRoche joining us from Bristol.
It's A or B. A will, you can, like the help with the other A or B.
Under new business, right? Plan for delivery.
Yeah, actually B, finalize a recommendation on warrant articles under old business.
Okay. What do we need to add?
Provision for special meeting if the contract's overdone.
Do you want to bring it up under other for discussion? Okay, because if you bring it up, even though we don't want it, we can't vote on it unless we have a discussion about it. Okay. All right, so we can do that under other. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So we'll accept this amendment if there's no objection. All right, we have two sets of minutes, November 10 and December 8. Maybe this would be a case where you can because I'm I'm going to be abstaining from the second set because I wasn't here, and Vincent Paul went to the New Hampshire School Board Association annual meeting and has something to share about abstentions that will impact the next board.
One of the sessions Saturday at the Concord Triangle building was on effective school board meetings. And I always enjoy going to the SBA session, no matter what it is, because I always learn something. And this was a bit of a surprise to me anyway. This whole handout is of interest and use to all board members. If you'd like a copy, I'd be happy to provide you one. Just ask. And there was a segment in here on abstaining from voting on a motion. And it says abstentions are not votes. Only the number of votes cast is counted in determining a majority or a two-thirds vote. For example, if a school board has 5 members and a motion receives 2 yes votes and 1 no vote, and 2 board members abstain, the motion passes. Which would be a minority vote. And it says the School Board Association advises that school board members do not abstain unless a conflict of interest or bias or prejudice issue is present. The board member feels they do not have enough information, knowledge, or resources to support the motion, and they should vote against the motion. Now, in talking with the parliamentarian that was there to run the meeting afterwards, he said this is mandated by Robert's rules. Check that out. And that if we use Robert's rules, which is what we do use, then you would still want to be consistent. And since I spoke with Ruby about this, and since we haven't recognized this, it might be wise for us to consider either adopting it as part of Robert's rules for the next school board session after the election, or decide after we discuss it what we might want to do about it, and either continue to operate the way we have or not. Because it would make a difference in prior historical votes if we reconsider things. And the point that the parliamentarian made was Robert's Rules is considered to be a guide. Its use is at the discretion of the chair in terms of how the chair wants to enforce or adhere to it. And like anything else, the board itself by majority should decide on what it wants to do, or how it wants to operate. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And there was a number of other things that I'll talk about under other business, just to fill you in on what transpired at the meeting, which was fairly controversial in some aspects, because it was a surprise to me that the past 9 years it's been a bit of a easy day, but it wasn't settled. So,
I told them to go ahead and explain that because I'm going to abstain from the December 8 meeting minutes since I wasn't here. But, so first, are there any changes for the November 10 minutes?
Minor editorial.
Okay.
Minor.
You want to just send them to, if they're just like grammar, I suppose?
Be like out of the dollar sign.
Okay.
I mean, it's obvious what it is.
Anything of substance from any of you? Okay. No, I feel like it's been months. Have we moved these to the consent agenda or done these at this time?
no, we do it for review. A point of information. on
Yeah.
that. As part of effective meetings, the School Board Association recommended that minutes do go on the consent agenda
Okay.
unless they borderline transcripts that there's likely to be a lot of corrections.
Okay.
Their point was that all you need to do with minutes is record actions,
Right.
which is why they suggested consent.
Okay, so on to the December 8th minutes. Anything on there? Do you have something?
Got the letters.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so if there are no changes, we're gonna put those both on the consent agenda? Okay, at this time, if there's public comment, would you please stand and say your name and what town you're from?
Stacy, they need to be separate.
Yeah, I got 11. Was looking at
Ruby's gonna abstain on one.
And when Sue arrives, if she's coming, she may go.
So one of them.
Sure, read them as I know, I find one. I put them right over or something.
Thanks, Stacy. Okay, so, no public comment. Okay. Moving on to announcements and recognition. Our student liaison is not feeling well, so she's not with us. Our staff liaison is here. Would you like to tell us anything?
Just quickly, this morning, the middle school had the pleasure of the entire BES population in our building this morning, and it was adorable. Number one, I never get to see little guys, and they were so cute. But I was just blown away by how well behaved everybody was. The middle school kids ate their breakfast, went about their business, grabbed and hugged some little ones that they were either related to or friends to. And you never would have known that the whole elementary school was in the building. They were that well behaved. So it was just really nice to see. It was fun. Apparently there was no heat early this morning at BES, and they had to wait for it to warm up. It kicked on or whatever.
Under other.
What was that?
She said
I'll talk about it under other.
Yeah.
But it was just, it was calm, it was quiet, it was lovely.
We had that last week, but it was the whole middle school, so we had no school. Because there was no place big enough for all of them. Thank you, Mimi.
Yeah.
Any other announcements and recognitions? Yeah.
I would like to congratulate Paul Harris, who was named as the Assistant Principal of the Year here at Newfoundland Regional High School. It's a great honor. We went to a luncheon on Thursday for him in honor of that. They had a little reception after here. They had one this morning, they had a little breakfast. The students came and congratulated him. It's a wonderful thing. That puts him in the running for National Assistant Principal of the Year, so he'll get to go to DC. I believe he gets lunch with the president, and it's a nice opportunity, and it's a great thing for the high school here. Very proud of him. He works hard to do what he does. Lots of winter concerts. If you look at the school calendar on the new district website.
It looks good. It looks really good.
We still have some kinks we're working out, but for the most part, the website is up and running. Hopefully you'll find it user-friendly. We try to get rid of the duplication, try to make it a little more student-friendly. We have some pictures up there that we're going to rotate through. It's a great place to put like awards and things that are happening in our school, and really try to make it more student-friendly and advertise what we're doing. I do want to say thanks to Cross for that work. We have spent about a year working on it, fitting it in when we can. I also want to thank Autumn Fabricant, who wrote a $5,000 grant for Project Promise and got it. It's an arts grant, which will bring an arts program to the elementary school, Project After School program, which was a great opportunity. Again, these are the grants we want to seek. They're not continuing. They're 1 year for a specific project, but provide a great opportunity for our students. This morning at about 10 to 6, I got a call from Alan, our facilities director, that we had to heat. Both boilers were down at Bristol Elementary School. At that point, it's a little too late to call school or cancel that school because buses are already rolling, kids are getting picked up, and so I made the decision to have the BES students go over to the middle school. We knew they had heat, we could put them in the gym, and so at least we figured out what was going on. I sent out a school reach announcement just to Bristol Elementary School parents, letting them know the plan. We brought them over to the middle school. Like Mimi said, the kids were great. Both staffs were outstanding. We had middle school staff helping to direct and get elementary kids into the building. We took attendance. We got a movie projector set up. We showed a movie for about an hour. In the meantime, we got confirmation that they were back up and running. It was a pump that died, so they were able to fix that right away. We wanted to give about an hour and a half, 2 hours to the building to warm up a little. It was about 50 degrees, so we waited till 9:30. I worked with the bus company. They were great. They came over with 4 buses, picked the kids up. We dropped them off at the elementary school, and they just kind of continued on their day. So kudos to the staff for helping out. They did a really nice job. This week, I think Bristol Elementary School was going to be rolling out their PBIS plan this morning. That was canceled till Wednesday. We tried it. I was like, can we do it here at the middle school? We got everybody in the gym. But they had all kinds of props and things at the elementary school. And I believe the middle school is getting ready to do their rollout as well. For those who don't, that's positive behavior interventions and supports. And it's been a training we've been doing with a team at both the middle school and the elementary school on this. And I think it's going to make a significant difference. And I think it will really help. Just a reminder too, we have early release day on Wednesday. For students, for staff, we will be doing a training on restraint and seclusion, which is a new change in the law. And so we have an attorney coming in to talk to the staff about the changes in the law and what the new requirements are, so that everybody is aware of that. That's all I have.
Are your kids in school yet, then? No, okay. My grandson's in first grade at Bristol, so I'm gonna call him up and say,
How
"Heard
was
you're a
it?"
middle schooler
Yeah.
now."
Right, so just aside, we had more kids have to go to the bathroom. I was like, I see
Yeah.
they're in a new building, they have to
Yeah.
check out the bathrooms. There was a steady line. I was like, really?
One breakfast.
It's pretty funny.
I bet it was an adventure. Okay, next we have approval and signature on default budget. Oh, no, we don't, I'm sorry, I'm off. Next we have, is there any other announcement recognition? Nope, okay. So next we have old business report out from Hill Subcommittee on approval for tuition agreement. Are we ready to share?
I mean, I can share with the board where we're at.
Yeah.
So, as you know, we decided to begin negotiations with Hill, so I worked, Mike and I worked with Barbara Lohman, our attorney, who worked with John Teague to develop a format and kind of a basis.
He's their attorney?
He's their attorney,
Yeah.
yeah, they're a format, and Mike and I I thought did a really nice job making sure everything was in there that we felt needed to be in there. So at this point, the subcommittee is gonna meet tomorrow night to go over that, to see if there's any other changes or recommendations. The Hill subcommittee is gonna be meeting to look at that as well. And then at some point in the very, very near future, we will likely get together to kind of, if there's negotiations or things that need to happen to get that to a place to come to the board. And Barbara did, and you'll see it on the warrants. Barbara did give us language to put as a warrant article for that agreement.
Now, this is funny. Do they really have a subcommittee in Hill on this?
I think it's the chair and maybe the business administrator.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because I know they've been meeting on this for 18 months, because the last meeting I was at, when they were deciding which school to pursue, somebody said, how come there haven't been any meetings? They said it's been on our agenda every single month for 18 months.
It's
So I
certainly a
think
smaller board.
all three of them have been involved in it, yeah.
I have
So,
a question.
yep.
The wording for the warrant. When do we get to see that and approve it, put it on the warrant, if the recommendation is to go forward?
It is, you'll see it on the warrants that you received in your board packet. You'll see the language, it's Article
So it has been read.
5.
Okay, I missed it. So we're going to assume that the recommendation is to go forward with that.
Well, that would be this board voting to put that warrant article on the ballot, on the warrant.
And the three of us have seen it, the subcommittee has seen it. We were just waiting for sort of, yeah, but I mean, we'd also seen the language ourselves.
The warrant article.
Warrant. Okay, so, I wasn't here at the last meeting to report on their meeting, was I?
Ben
So, Ben did, okay, and I was at the Hill meeting when they made the decision to go with us. It was well attended, it was better attended than the other ones that I went. Okay, next we have finalized and recommendation of warrants for 15 and 16.
So I am going to pass you out a new version. There's two things that are different on there. As I sent you an email, the default budget was incorrect. I had not added in the grants and the food service budget on the copy you had gotten, so this has the correct default. You'll also noted the budget committee. Oh, what did I do? Oh yeah, the budget committee.
Was this already?
The budget committee has also voted on the warrant articles after the budget hearing on Friday, so you'll see there, with the exception of, I just am realizing Article 4 I didn't put in there, but they voted to recommend it by vote of, I put it under school board. I know I did this.
Wait, I'm getting a little confused, but can I just interrupt for a minute and say, Leah, I want to acknowledge that Puccini's joined us, okay, for the audio. So our full board is present. I'm
So-
sorry, Stacy.
That's okay, so the two changes were on Article 4, the operating budget. The copy that was in your packet had a default budget of $20 million and something. I did not add in the food service and the grants budget. This is the copy that has that added in there, so the
Yeah.
actual default is the 22 million. This also has all of the budget committee recommendations on there. They voted after the budget hearing on Thursday to recommend remaining with the budget that they had brought forward at the budget hearing.
Okay, when you say in our packet, it wasn't.
No, it's in the one you have right there.
Okay, all right. I
Yeah.
didn't know if we had two that we were comparing to.
Yeah, there's one in your packet that was sent out.
Okay, all right, I just, I was trying to compare it and I
Yeah.
couldn't find.
So the one in the packet doesn't have the budget committee recommendations, because they didn't have them when I sent out the packet.
Okay,
So this one does, with the exception of operating budget, which I clearly put school board voted as opposed to budget committee voted, so I just need to move that.
okay. And I had asked you to explain the difference between the operating budget and the default budget, and why, everybody was shocked when I said the default budget should be less, and even the audience said, oh no, default's always higher. Could you explain how that
Yep, so
happens?
if you remember, so the default budget is this year's budget, plus or minus any contractual obligations or one-time expenses.
Yep.
So think about the fact that the budget, in this alone, so the budget we presented to the public is like $14,000, a small number more than this current year's budget. So if you consider that, and then add in the current budget, add in all the increases, like for retirement, for health insurance changes, that bumps the budget even higher, the current year's budget.
Yeah.
Remember, in that, but the current year's budget, you're not taking out, so we cut staffing, you're not taking those staffing out, so you go with the assumption it's the same budget.
Yep,
So therefore, that's how it becomes lower, is when you actually start cutting and reducing your budget. It tends to become a lower budget than your default.
okay, thank you.
I think you see that more and more often as districts are cutting budgets.
Yep,
Madam Chair, comment on sequence. In the past, we have always decided to make the final article the operating budget for purposes of attendance. And notice we have that as Article 4 instead of Article 6 this year. And I would like to continue to do that because I don't want to see a bunch of people leave the meeting once the budget's passed. That was a reason for it. I think that was the reason.
They can be arranged however this board would like them to be arranged. It doesn't really impact anything. I mean, typically you do put your petition warrant articles last, but that's not required by law.
I think maybe this, putting the operating budget at the end goes way, way back to before we were SB2, because what would happen then is people would leave at 11:30 at night, and at 1 in the morning, people would change the budget. So it might have been moved to the last for that reason too, to prevent any, let's rehash the whole thing again after everyone's left. So I'm fine with that. Do you guys have any? Yeah,
Should be moved.
to the end?
So move the operating budget to after the petition warrant article?
Yeah.
Okay.
To be the last one.
On the petition warrant article, let me see if I can find it. I had seen something that was like a little error, and I didn't know this was at the budget hearing.
I copied it exactly how they worded it.
Yeah,
on their
that's what I
warrant,
was wondering.
on their petition.
I don't know what it was. It was like, oh, I know. See how it says Junior Bears on the line above the last line? So Bears isn't capitalized? Yeah, that's all. But if it was exactly as they had it, then that's the way it's.
I'll double check, and I'm sure I could probably capitalize Bears, because I
I
have
just,
a problem.
yeah, the other night.
I don't think they will object.
Yeah.
Stacy, you said you picked up the 8-0 vote of the school board versus the budget committee.
Under the operating budget, you just see where it says the school board voted to recommend this article by 8, that's really the budget committee. I just wrote it in the wrong spot, I will fix that.
Um,
I did this just before the meeting, I was trying to get it to you.
The other thing that I have a concern about is tomorrow's the deadline at 5 o'clock, right?
Correct.
So we really can't approve this until then.
You can approve it, it's just that if you get a petition warrant article, you'll need to meet again. If there's money, the budget committee will need to meet again, you'll have to have another hearing. So, yeah, you can approve these now, and then it just, if you get a petition warrant article, then everybody has to meet again, no matter what.
Okay.
Anything else on these?
When we should add my suggestion,
What was that? Go ahead.
to add an article out for the provision of a special meeting if the teacher contract is defeated.
I'm going to open it up for discussion, but if you wanted to propose the article, we will need it written before we can approve it. You've got it from last year? Yeah, okay. So do you want to explain to the others what you have in mind?
Last year, we included an article for a provision for a special meeting, so we wouldn't have to go to the state to request a special meeting, go through all the legal hassle of having a special meeting. If the teacher's contract is voted down, and then after the vote, we were able to renegotiate a different contract, then we'd have the authority to hold a special meeting to vote on the revised contract.
Yeah?
The reason that I'm opposed to doing this year is it would essentially be a slap in the face to the teachers if we did it. And the reason I say that is we flat out told them at the very beginning of negotiations that we did not intend to do that this year for purposes of getting everyone to agree on a contract. So to come back and provide that option at this point, I think is inconsistent with what we had done strategically and very open with the
I think too that when you have 100% of the budget committee and 100% of the school board supporting the contract, if it doesn't pass, well, there's nothing that we can renegotiate that would.
Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable with that as well.
Yeah, I don't think it serves any meaningful purpose.
It's one of our goals to get it passed, so if we have any doubt, then we should be talking to people and making sure they go for it. And on that note, I did have communication with Deidre about putting something together and getting it out in the press, joint statement, because if you remember, they were working with a PR consultant, and so I said, how's that going, and have they come up with anything, and they haven't. So she and I are going to do something.
With not having it in there, may give them some impetus to help them sign the contract.
Both sides, I think, yeah. Are you okay? Do you want to bring this to a vote?
Yeah. Enough reasons why not to include it this year.
Okay.
I have a couple of quick questions, Ruby.
Yeah.
On the petition warrant article, and I'll, I guess, ask for forgiveness beforehand for probably not knowing this answer, or at least a couple of these answers, but I know in the past we have had, or we have a middle school football program. Do we currently still have an active middle school football program?
Good question.
We as a school district do not have a middle school football program. It's kind of like a community, it's the Junior Bears, which if you had to equate it, it's like a subsidy of the Friends of Newfound Football, kind of for the middle school. So they do all the fundraising, they support it, we pay for nothing. Parents transfer, they play other middle school, public school teams, but the school district doesn't support it at all.
Volunteer coaches.
Yes.
They don't use our grounds either.
Yeah.
Does NHIA not recognize middle school football?
No, they do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so if this passed and we took over football, it would be an NHIA sport. It would go through the same requirements as all middle school sports do.
And do we have any idea, or a couple that we know of divisional opponents, rivals that also have middle school programs? Or?
So it would be all, most Division III teams that we play, it's a feeder program, so a lot of them either have like a community program or a school-sponsored program.
Are you looking for names of schools?
Yeah, I guess it's
Yeah, I just-
difficult, I
yeah.
think, because of that community-based
I'm-
thing to work through NHIAA and the
Yeah.
individual school districts and really figure out who had.
I know Sue has a comment, but I'm thinking, Ann, do you know some of them that we play?
I know who we play, but I don't know who is a school versus who
Yeah,
is some
I
other
know.
school.
I mean, I can certainly
You know, like
research it, I'm
West
sure.
Palm, Laconia, Plymouth, we played at the middle school level.
Don't know. And you said you have a couple questions?
That was it.
Okay.
Just kind of some backwards.
Sue?
Well, I had been talking to one of the friends, and he said that, I believe, for 10 years, they have been supporting this football team. And some of them, of course, have other commitments too. It's getting harder and harder for them to find the time to raise that much money.
Yep.
Yeah. This is, I think, along those lines, evidence of what we're going to be facing as time passes. And my opinion on this is this feeder program is very important in order to maintain a varsity program in the first place. And I think this year there's probably 22 or 24 kids at the high school that play football, which is just barely an offense and a defense. And so the need for this is the kind of thing that comes along when the population decreases to the point where it's going to be an issue. And you've got to be able to support a varsity program with a feeder program. And fewer and fewer parents are able to maintain the burden of raising the funds necessary on their own and still contribute for the next 4 or 5 years to the high school program as well. And so, as leaders of the community, I think we should interpret what the need is behind this for other purposes and understand that clearly. Because this is evidence that it's becoming a problem. And under other business, I was going to pass out an article that was published in the Union Leader yesterday that supports the issue of student enrollment continuing to decline statewide, just to be informative from alternative sources. And so, for the parents, in order to continue the varsity program, I hope this article does pass, because otherwise the burden on the middle school parents is going to be even greater.
Jeff has a comment, and then I have a procedural question. Go ahead.
I spoke in support of this at the Budget Committee meeting, and I'm going to summarize what I said then and add to it a little bit. One of the big concerns in the school supporting the program at the middle school will be that it will allow for confession testing, which at this point cannot be done because parents do not have that authority. The other thing I talked about was the middle school gets a bad rap. A lot of people have some negative things to say about the school and the programs. And this is a program that the entire community can and will get behind the support, that has benefits to the individual students that go beyond their academic education. It works on teamwork, spirit building, individual self-image. In so many ways, I think this program not only will support the kids in the school, but will help with the community image of the school. So I have to support it.
My procedural question is, I see that the Budget Committee voted, but I thought the board and the Budget Committee did not vote on petition items.
But that was going to be my next one.
I think you can vote on anything that has money attached to it.
I think the board has never voted on a petition item because it's up to the public and it's already put out there by 25 registered voters. Sue?
And the consistency point is if
Yeah.
someone raises an issue from the floor,
Right.
you wouldn't vote on it at that point.
Right, you're not, so remember, you're not voting whether it should be on there or not. You're voting whether you think you're recommending people vote for it or not.
I know, and I think that's why petition vote, items have never been voted on by this board before, because they weren't created by the board. Sue, can you recall
I
a time?
don't. I'm not sure that the money made any difference.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the MS 27, we have to mark whether the board recommends or does not recommend this. The same with the budget committee, so there's like a column, so if we put it in, it's, you're not, it's just, I don't know what to do to say that, like,
Yeah.
no one recommended, no one offered an opinion on it. So.
It isn't that I have a problem, because I don't have a, it's like signing a petition. People have the right to put something on there. So I sign petitions, because people have the right to see if the voters want it, whatever it may be. But I just had never seen
Right,
this
and then-
voted on before.
Right, but just then the two bodies make a recommendation of whether you support that article that the petitioners gave you.
I believe it's subject to the tax cap too, right?
Right, it's subject to the tax cap.
Um, The other reason I rose the issue of the deadline for petition articles is I was asked about the kindergarten thing again today and was told that there is going to be one. We'll see whether or not that actually happens or not in time, and whether, and for that matter, if it's approved or not. But be that as it may, I think we should be consistent. And in the past, as Ruby has said, the board has not voted to indicate a preference for petition warrant articles. And if another one shows up, we get a crack at it anyway, but be that as it may, we should decide to be consistent, I think.
I can't speak to consistency, but I think from a leadership of the community standpoint, we should voice support or not over anything that involves the school district, and particularly when it involves money.
Doesn't prevent us from doing that at the meeting, individually or collectively, but it's just a matter of procedure.
I don't think that taking a vote now would be any different than taking a vote to recommend it without putting it on the warrant.
Well, it has to go on the warrant. We have no
Right.
choice
Yeah.
either way.
Right, but we could make a resolution to publicly support the warrant item, whether we do it on the warrant or not. Much the same way we have publicly taken the position to support the teacher's contract.
I'm in support of football, however, I worry about the first thing that came out of your mouth when it comes to the concussion studies. That is a huge concern for me for such young people. I mean, I know the importance of sports, but it's scary. And I know it's a parent's choice to let their child play, but, oof, it worries me.
Better we should have this ability to give them concussion tests, rather than having them participate.
Have a concussion.
If we're
And
gonna
have
have
a concussion
football.
and we not be able to test for it.
Yeah.
I mean, they are going, I would hazard that whether the article passes or not, I think the junior bears are gonna continue to exist, much as they have this past year and years previous.
Well, I certainly hope you're correct. My concern is that...
So, where I'm going with that is, I would much rather them have the school district support and the ability to test these students than them continue to play without that support and that testing.
Is it my understanding with the NHI is that if you have two sports in two separate buildings, they cannot, like, work together? So you have an 8th grader that is a fabulous football player.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
can't
that's-
listen to you,
sorry.
because this conversation's going on. Can you please, Fred, can you start again? I couldn't hear you.
Through the NHI, they if you have sports in two separate buildings, can they work together, I guess that's what I'm saying, in the sense of, if you have a fabulous 8th grade player, can they come to the high school and be on that team? Or do they have to stay separate?
I believe they have to stay separate, and there are some provisions for 8th graders playing at the high school. I don't know if they have to be in the same location, or if you can bring somebody from out of the only way you can, an 8th grader can participate is if the roster is not full at the high school level. Now, I would be very concerned about 8th graders playing at the high school level in football, out of any sport, because you're playing against seniors, who could be potentially pretty big kids.
But if you have those low numbers, but where the buildings are not together, I just wanted to see.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to figure out how to get kids from the middle school to the high school. I don't know if you have to be in the same location to do that, if it's like a 7 to 12 school, or if you can have separate schools. I don't know how the NHIA works, those regulations.
Yeah, I think
Okay. Anyone else on this one?
Just a follow-up comment. As opposed to breaking the prior procedure and taking a position on a petition warrant article, I would suggest that for those of us that are in favor of this, then let's just assume it's the entire board for that, for the purpose of discussion. If each of us got up individually at the deliberative session and spoke in favor of this petition warrant article, I think it would have a lot more weight than just saying that we voted 7-0. Just a personal choice. Now, we're at a controversial petition warrant article.
It will be, for some people, because they'll be like, it's 15,000 this year, but next year, what's it going to be? And when football started, we were promised that it wouldn't be, that's gonna come up. So there will be controversy over it.
Yeah, but I mean, we're just talking about a procedural thing here.
Yeah.
The merit for concussion and the reasons for them to do this.
Well, I'm in
That's
favor.
the same question.
Yeah, I'm in favor of us voting on these each individually when it's time to vote, and including this one in that, if you guys are.
You mean at the deliberative? Or
No, I mean tonight, when we vote on each of these later.
So you're suggesting that you want to take a vote and indicate the results?
Yeah, because I don't want it to say the budget committee voted to recommend this article, and then have nothing from the school board. I just think that'll.
But if you say what Vinnie's talking about in the sense of standing up and giving your support and vote at that time, right? Is that what you're indicating?
Yeah.
Then what,
But-
so they chose to vote when they voted, why do we have to follow suit then?
Right, and one of the points is that,
Because everyone at home won't see that. The people voting at the polls won't see that.
well, the reason this occurred was, I think, I'm going to make an assumption here, Stacy, I don't know, but because this had been submitted on time, it was presented to the budget committee, just kind of fell into the,
Right, because it's a petition warrant article, so it has to go on the warrant, we don't have an option. I did just look at last year's, you didn't have any petition warrant articles, so I would have had no knowledge that you wouldn't have recommend. I mean, traditionally, if the board votes to recommend or not recommend warrant articles, and you've made a motion at some point, you recommend or not recommend all money articles.
And you can still get up and speak to the
Right.
article, whether you voted for it
But
or
if we
not.
don't vote, what the people at the polls will see is Article 6 recommended by the budget committee, no comment by the school board.
well, yes, if it,
I would think that would be an indication that we need supporters.
They would be, people would probably not vote for it because they'd wonder. Yep.
Because of the purpose of the recommendation is for the voters in the polls to know what the budget committee and the school board did at the time they make their vote, I think it's only appropriate and probably necessary that we do make a recommendation.
So,
And if there should be another petition warrant article, that we should follow suit and be consistent.
Well, that's the challenge that it presents from my perspective, but, we can do by majority whatever we want, including breaking tradition, if you will.
Well, I'm okay with breaking tradition because it's already been broken here. And I don't want us left behind or just looking like we can't.
Yeah, and to say it's tradition or not,
Yeah.
it's a matter of what happens if you are in support of one but not another. So,
Well, it's important information.
Yeah. So if you're okay, we'll just vote on each of these individually, right? We don't vote on the whole warrant, we vote on each.
Right, you should do
item
each one individually.
And so we'll do that after the next public comment, when we vote on the consent items as well. Okay? All right. Let's see. Approval and signature on default budget and MS 27.
Yep, so you don't have them, because we still have to do them, so we will, once we have the warrants, you'll have the warrants, the default budget, and the MS 27 to sign off on.
Okay.
So it will probably be kind of middle to end of week, we'll send you all an email, we need at least a majority of you to stop by the SAU office and sign those documents.
Okay.
So that's just your reminder that you have to do that.
Okay.
You will sit on the 19th?
Thank you. Okay, policies for second read and approval. So they've all been read before. Are there any concerns about them going through? Okay, can you do the policy letters for us, Don?
JED,
JED will be
John, Edward, Donald.
Oh, the very last one. The very last one.
Attendance, absenteeism, and truancy.
So that's good,
In the revision, it says that the principal will send the student's parents a letter which includes the following. And I was thinking to ensure that the parents did actually receive the letter, it should be registered.
All right, hold on. I haven't even found the policy yet.
Stacy, this came directly from...
Yeah, so there is no legal requirement to send it registered mail, we just send them home. Typically, when a student has been truant or absent for extensive, there's been lots of contact with the parents, usually we know why. We could send it registered, it's just a whole nother step to add that isn't necessary. It's just informing them of how many days they've been out. Typically, we have a process that after so many days, they meet with the parents, they talk to them.
Okay, but I didn't pick that up in the prior description.
Yeah, so this policy was one that used to have, that said the superintendent will develop additional information, and so we actually just then went and developed the information and put it right in the policy. There were a couple of policies that had that on there that we went back and outlined what we needed to.
You already know, or the parents already know that it is
Yeah.
an issue, then this is more formality.
Yeah, it's very rare that they get a letter without having had some conversation.
But, I was, concerned that one of the student involved could intercept the letter.
Yeah.
Usually there's a phone call.
They can always do
home.
that, but.
Yeah, but usually there's some phone call or email that
there's
says,
usually
hey,
contact.
isn't there a phone, I don't know, isn't there a phone call when a student's absent unexcused? Yeah, so each time that they're absent, there's a,
Or you have to call them.
yeah,
That was all.
okay. Any others?
Do you want that on the consent agenda?
Yes, I think. Sue, you all set?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right, if there's no objection, let's go on the consent agenda. Okay, next we have review and plan for deliberative session scheduled for Saturday, January 31st, 2015. Stacy and I have been working on some preliminary language for the explanation of the warrant articles, so there isn't a crush like there was last year. When we do the mailing, just it's not really on the agenda, so I thought this was a good time to say that. Okay, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, so, a couple of things, we'll set up for the meeting will be the exact same setup that we had for the budget hearing, just so you know. I need to know, is somebody doing a presentation, do you want me to do a presentation, kind of like I did with them? You could probably almost use the same budget committee presentation.
I was gonna ask if you could use their
I did it, so
presentation.
yes, you can
Yes,
use it.
yes, okay. And then, last year, what we did was we had a different board member speak to each of the warrant articles.
Correct.
And it sounds like we're probably going to have enough support for even the petition warrant article, that somebody from the board can stand and discuss it, if nothing else. So are you guys good with that? With an individual for each? Okay, so now, do you want to jump up and volunteer for yours, or?
First, I think we have to resolve whether or not we're gonna need to staff up for the gymnasium or not. He said with tongue in cheek.
Staff up for the gymnasium?
Just in case the 5 people that attended.
At the other night? Yeah, I
Given the
know.
attendance of 2 people from the public at the budget hearing.
Well, it's funny, I talked to my brother about that, and he said he and the other select people, yeah, they talked about it, they said, yeah, it's too cold. So, I mean, it was cold, and you know, because he asked how it went, and I said, tame, the most tame I have ever seen, you know, so, that was surprising. We were out in less than an hour.
I like to say it's non-controversial, that's.
Yeah, I know, although, I was like, so I think, yeah, that it might be great. So, yes,
Can more than one person talk for an article, or is that not recommended?
they could, as long as they, I mean, maybe you want to talk about what you're going to say ahead of time, so
Together.
you don't just stand and say the exact same thing. But last year, I talked on the teacher's contract, so I did put together some slides, which Stacy then incorporated in our overall slide, you know, our overall PowerPoint, so, is there anybody volunteering for any of these?
Because you're working with the public notification of the contract. Seems like you're going to be the
Right,
best
well,
prepared.
I'd be okay with talking about the contract again, but then which of you will speak about the Hill tuition agreement? Because it can only be one of 3 of us, well, it should only be one of the 3 of us.
That doesn't have to be true.
Doesn't have to be, but it should be somebody who is involved in it.
Knowledgeable.
No?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, so Ben will do Hill, and I'll do the teacher contract.
So I don't have a slide on Hill, but I will add at least the warrant article there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can send out the presentation to everybody so you can look at it
Well,
and
we-
make edits if you want.
We might be able to come up with something tomorrow night, too.
Yeah,
for
perfect,
that.
we can do
Yeah.
that.
So that Ben isn't just going,
Yeah.
it's a good thing. How about expendable trust fund?
I'll take it.
Okay, Jeff? And,
Wouldn't you be better for the football?
well, I was gonna say, I think Vincent Ball might like the football.
I think Vincent Paul would be the best one for the football.
Because he's on the Friends,
Yeah.
unless I get the committees confused. Is that what you're on, the
Yeah,
Friends and
yeah,
the
no,
football? Okay, do you want to talk about it?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and the operating budget,
Just FYI, I also plan to speak on the Hill.
okay, it's a majority decision of the board, so are you,
I understand.
okay. Operating budget, darn. You want to talk about the operating budget?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Everyone all set with that? Okay, all right.
So who wants to work on the mailer? So I mean, I can start, I brought it with me, what we did last year, and I've kind of started working on, like Ruby said, the descriptions. Where did I put it?
Yeah, we actually did quite a bit of,
Yeah, so there was like, it was like 2 pages that had the warrant articles on it, which will be a little shorter because we don't have quite as many. And then there was, the committee put together just like a introduction to it, and then we had some graphics. We can certainly work on most of this. But we have it slated to go to the printers on Friday.
This
To be-
Friday?
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, because we have to get it to the printers, they need a week to print it, mail it, and get it out if we want it the week before deliberative session.
So what happens if there is another petition article?
Then we have to scramble to have it, you'll have to have another meeting, if there's money involved, you have to have another meeting, budget committee has to have another meeting, and we need to schedule a budget hearing.
Oh, before Friday?
Probably within a week. It is a tight time frame. Yes, it is absolutely a tight time frame. This then, I mean, obviously this is gonna have to be held off. We're not gonna be able to get it to the printers on Friday, because you'll want to wait till after all of that to happen. You know, you'll need to wait till that happens, beforehand, but we can prepare this and get it ready, so it might be out 4 days instead of a week before. But yeah, if there's a petition warrant article that still comes in, it will be some fancy footwork to schedule a bunch of meetings.
I can't add another meeting this week, but I can do what we were doing, which is back and forth online. You don't have what we've come up with yet, do you?
I don't have it with me.
No, okay.
I can certainly email it out.
Yeah.
I am totally booked like the next 2 days, so I'm not gonna have a lot of time to work on it. But I can plug it in between, but just have a bunch of meetings scheduled.
Last year, Jeff and I were able to work on that together. Schedule conflicts prevented three of us from getting
Do you guys want it again?
here. Well,
There's no way I can do it this week.
We really have made a big start just so that there's something to look at. We didn't have stuff for the contract, I think.
Right, so, I mean, I've got pretty much, other than Hill, like the descriptions, pretty much done, like the kind of further explanation. Some of the graphs and charts we can just update, like, so there's
But
there's a budget chart which we can just add, we have all those numbers now, we can add those in. Some of this is on, so really, what is it that the board wants on this?
I think
You know?
it should be like last year. I think, I know I'm laying this on you, but I think that you should be doing like final approval of this, because weren't there some errors with numbers last year? So I'd like you to see it, since you've done it now 2 years in a row, approving it for.
yeah, I mean, it's the board's mailer, and while I don't want to burden the superintendent with it, it should have a board flavor to it. And this pressure thing is, it's just a problem because of timing.
Yeah. I mean, I will give it to Sue, what I have done tomorrow, to see if she can put it, I mean, she's the expert at putting all this in there.
The good news is Sue has always been able to make the format work.
Yeah. I mean, I can update like the budget thing and send it to you. I mean, some of this is like the information on deliberative session is just standard. So there's really this kind of like the newfound area vote, like the information about it that you might want to update. And then kind of what's over here, just letting us know if you want to just update those numbers, do you want to change it up, do you want to add something different?
Well, there's always just the proofreading to make sure that 2014 has been replaced everywhere, you know?
Yep.
And
I mean, I can get involved if we can email it back and forth, but I can't
come in.
come in. I mean, I've got some time on Wednesday
So-
where I'm at my desk.
Maybe the three of us online, may you,
Give it a
Jeff?
shot,
Yeah.
That chart was all necessary last year, wasn't it? Did we want to update the one on the right?
I think we ought to find something else for that spot.
Yeah, that's a lot of real
Oh,
estate.
yeah,
to
right.
lose.
If people have ideas, just let me know and we can
The other-
create whatever.
The other thing that's important is the explanation of the warrants.
That's what Stacy and I did,
Oh,
yeah.
you've already.
Yeah, we haven't done them all, we just started on some that were gonna be, you know, probably not controversial descriptions.
Last year, we had done them earlier, and they were done, so we had them in the budget hearing packet. So I started working on them, and then I was like, oh, we don't have all these done yet and finalized, so I took them out of the budget hearing packet and figured we'll just use them on here.
Mike,
Okay.
do you have a typed explanation for the default budget, how that's figured?
I've given you several handouts
There's a
on the
RSA.
default budget that had the whole methodology on it.
Right, do you,
Start to
as I
finish.
recall, do you have the wording blurb that could,
Well, the RSA
Sure.
itself.
The RSA, if you look on the warrant article, the
Yeah.
RSA says what it is, it's the,
It's pretty simple.
Because our space is limited.
I also